Let's get ready to rumble.
Yes, we're back to episode 138 of the Hibs Rumble. We are back for another episode in your ear holes. It's me, your host as always, Liam, and I'm joined by the wonderful, the very good looking Mr. Shaun Corrigan. Shaun, how the devil are you, my pal?
Fantastic, mate. I'm always intrigued to see what your intros are like. Never seem to make me feel better about myself, so thank you, mate.
How are you anyway?
Yeah,
What have you been up
I'm
to?
good.
You've not been on the pod
good.
in a couple of weeks.
No, I've been a busy man, just saving lives and helping people. So, yeah, I think it's good to be back. I don't enjoy not being on it, especially when we're doing well-ish. Been a busy couple of weeks for the Hibs, and Hibs have been making people happy, although some referees recently have not.
This is true. We've not really spoken about any of the happenings in Poland the other week, Shaun. It was a bit of a heartbreaker, eh?
Yeah, it was a tough one to take. I think at half-time I thought we were dead and buried. I didn't see a way of us getting back into it, but that 11 minutes, especially for those that were in the stadium, will probably go down as some of the best 11 minutes of their lives.
Mm.
And that's what European football is for clubs like Hibs, like making memories and, you know, little moments like that. Like all the European ties I've been to, I've got great memories of those trips. And a lot of it is small parts of the games. The rest of it is the trip itself. And that will be probably the same for Denmark, Serbia, and now Poland, for everyone that was able to make it. It was some turnaround for us to get those 3 goals, and a lot of them of very, very good quality. And Martin Boyle's 40-yard strike that hits the bar is probably one of those what-if moments that will now go down in Hibs history, what could have been. But listen, it was some 6 matches that we've had. What annoys me, mate, is that out of all the Scottish sides to play in Europe thus far this season, we've probably, in fact, no probably about it, we have accounted ourselves the best and we have performed the best out of the lot, and yet we are the ones that find ourselves out.
Out with Club Brugge, probably the most difficult ties as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you look at the FIFA rankings of the sides that we've faced, we've accounted ourselves very, very well, and it shows kind of where a lot of these players are at levels wise. And I was more intrigued after what happened on Thursday. Listen, I think we've now got one of the best centre midfielders to ever wear the green and white jersey, so it'll be interesting to see how his career pans out. But I was more intrigued as to see how we were going to react on Sunday, because it would have been quite easy for the players to unintentionally not necessarily turn up or give us a lively performance. So, yeah, listen, I would have wanted the 3 points, but in the grand scheme of things, considering mentally and emotionally what the players, as well as physically, would have been through on Thursday and travelling back, I think it's a good point in the end.
Yeah, well, we will move on to the game shortly, but it is the 1st of September. It is deadline day. Happy deadline day to all who celebrate. A lot of interesting things happening so far this morning. Maybe not really so much for Hibs, but I had Sky Sports on, and Wissa's on the move, Isak's on the move. There's a couple of moving parts at other places, which is quite interesting. Jadon Sancho, Emi Martinez could be making some moves, but Hibs is the team that we're interested in. And it looks increasingly likely that we will end the day with, if rumours are to be believed, with a new striker in the shape and form of Lyndon Dykes. Is that a player that you would be excited about coming into the group, Shaun?
Very, very excited. There is no player I have ever seen fit international football as well as Lyndon Dykes. Now, I know obviously Hibs is not an international side, but what he does for Scotland has done for Scotland, his work rate, his lively performances against very, very tough opposition, I think is fantastic. He obviously had a tough season last season with injuries, and I think when we put the tweet out about him potentially joining, there was very, very little people that were against it. I think a lot of people, although his goal ratio isn't fantastic for a striker, I think everyone kind of understands the level of performance and the quality that he can bring. And if he's coming up from the Championship, albeit on a loan, then I would like to think he's going to suit straight back into Scottish football and be able to perform at a very high standard. And I think a player like that is what we need when you've got Cleege, Boyle, and Bowie. I think it just gives us a different dimension. There's been loads of comparisons between him and Bowie, and I get it from like a physical perspective, but obviously Bowie's got a lot more. But Dykes would probably offer us a little bit more when, we're away to the Old Firm, or the last 20 minutes against Hearts, and we're maybe needing to be a bit more physical. I'm not saying Bowie can't do that, because he proved it at home in the European ties as well as the away ties, but it would just give us a different dimension. I think he would be a great sign.
Yeah, you can't rely on Kieran Bowie to be able to do that for every single minute of every single game. It's unrealistic and it's not very fair on him. For me, the Lyndon Dykes, if he comes in and if Hibs manage to get it over the line, it's a no-brainer for me. He knows the league, he knows the club, he knows exactly what it takes to be a success in this division. So for me, it's someone who we have been crying out for, someone to kind of fit that mould, that second Kieran Bowie, if you want to look at it that way. And Lyndon Dykes on loan, I think it would be probably a match made in heaven, to be honest, for what David Gray's looking for, what the squad is really crying out for. And if we can get that over the line and done, then I think the squad would be in a really, really good place. The only other position, Shaun, that I would be looking to strengthen before the window shuts this evening is at right wing back, just to have another option there, not in terms of, and I've said it on the pod before, not in terms of someone coming in and taking the jersey away from Chris Cadden, but maybe just someone to come in and push. If we can go ambitious, then absolutely go for it, but I don't feel like it's a real problem position for us at the moment. I think we can improve upon the players that we have that can play there, but at the moment I don't think it's something that really is too much of a holy shit, we've got to go out and fix this right now. I would like to have a little bit more in that area, but if we don't get anyone in, then I don't think I'm going to be gutted about it.
Yeah, I think the importance of not only this window but the January window when it comes is that it's going to potentially be for a lot of players a World Cup year as well. Regardless whether it's like a Lyndon Dykes, he's going to want to come in and perform at a high level to be in and around the Scotland squad if we were to make it and play for Scotland. And the same goes for any other players that we're potentially looking to bring in. I do think Megwa is adequate enough cover to push and assist with Chris Cadden, but when you look at the left side, when you've got Obita and Cadden on that side, well, Obita can fill in at left centre half, but then Iredale can go into left back, not necessarily right wing back. So I think having someone that could maybe be a right back or a right centre half of a three would probably be a better suited option, whereas having Canayo on right wing would kind of give him that licence to go forward. And if we've got a strong right-footed centre half, which we probably have in Hanley, but I would probably want him more as a middle of a three rather than a right of a three. So yeah, I agree that would ideally be another position to fill.
It's one of them though that if we don't get one in, I don't think it's the end of the world.
David Gray might be looking at it and thinking that Mulligan can fill in there as and when is needed.
And I think Mulligan can.
Quite a few games already.
I think he can, but I much prefer Mulligan in the middle of the park, and I think he's much more effective there. I wouldn't really want to be shoehorning one of our better midfield players out into right wing back every time Chris Cadden is blowing at his arse, or if he's injured or whatever, because then that gives us one less option of quality, of real quality in the middle. Anything else that Hibs are going to do, I think, is going to be completely reactionary, depending on if players end up leaving this window. It looks likely that Eli Yuan could be off to Legia Warsaw, and perhaps Alassane Mane out the door as well. I know we'll start on Eli Yuan. He's a player, obviously, that you've got a great affection for. To be honest, Shaun, for the last couple of windows, maybe the last 3 windows, it's been coming.
Yeah, he's not pulled his weight, has he? The thing is, on his day, and technically he's probably one of, if not the most technically gifted in the squad. It's just unfortunate that he's not pulled his weight or produced that enough since maybe at least 9 to 12 months, which is a shame. And I know there's been grumbles within the club of issues, not necessarily with him, but just people starting to be frustrated with him. And I don't know if that's his level of training or his level of performance or his attitude. It could be one of those, it could be none of those, or it might even be all of them. So, I think at this moment in time, like, it's best for all parties if Ellie is to leave. I wouldn't want him to leave, but I would only want him to stay if he was going to give us 100% and perform at his maximum, which unfortunately he's not done for a long period of time. If he does, or when the time does come that he will leave the club, I'll still hold him in high regard for the magical moments he did give us. He'll go down as like a maverick and maybe a wee bit of a cult hero with some people as well, but he will always split opinion.
One of these players that I think always got you off your feet, entertained you, and that's what you go to the football for. In essence, exactly. Is to be entertained, much to the annoyance of Bobby Williamson, I would imagine. But yeah, he's just one of these, and I think the longer that it's gone, and obviously he was ravaged with injury last season with that bastard toe. But no, I think right now would be the happiest since Eliuan joined that I would be for him to leave, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's because we went through last season and we were really successful, and I feel like we didn't need him. He wasn't available, and we didn't particularly miss him at many points throughout last season. I don't think there was any games really where I came away from that going, that game was screaming out for a bit of Eliuan.
Yeah. And the thing is, in recent weeks when he has came on, a lot of people have just felt that he's kind of let the side down a wee bit, which is unfortunate. Obviously, he's not going out there with the intention to play poorly or give the ball away. It's just the way that he plays the game on the edge. And unfortunately, he's had a lot more poorer performances than better performances. There has been little spells where you can still see that magic from him. But unfortunately, like we've already alluded to, for a long period of time, it's been few and far between, which is frustrating.
It is. So the window as a whole, Shaun, we'll look at the outs first, because I feel like the outs are a lot more important than what we've actually brought in so far this window. So we've had Vente, Miller, Kenny, Boric, Ekpiteta, Nathan Mariah Welsh, Gio Tavares and Alan Del Ferrier. I think fees for Vente, Miller, Ekpiteta and Nathan Mariah Welsh, it's an impressive list out, especially to get fees for those players. And it's moving a lot of players on. The only player in there that I can see that I would have thought maybe there's a space for you here is Lewis Miller. I feel like he would solve that right wing back, right centre back sort of headache that we've got a little bit at the moment.
Well, we've only got that issue because he's left, realistically.
Yeah, you know so the rest of them, you know, I mean, it may be a wee bit of a shame to see Nathan Mariah Welsh go, because, you know, I liked him, but, you know, if we're bringing in players like Mulligan, Jamie McGrath, then there's not really a space for Nathan Mariah Welsh, unfortunately. And then you look at the incomings. Jamie McGrath, Raphael Salinger, Josh Mulligan, Thibaut Clige, Grant Hanley and Miguel Chewa up till now. Are you happy with the window as a whole in terms of all the dealings that we've done?
Yeah, I think this window, as the club have alluded to for maybe the last 14 months, this window here was going to be very, very important because of the amount of players that we had out of contract this summer, and there was a lot of players that needed to move on, and the club have moved on arguably the right players. It's unfortunate for players like Dylan Vente that it didn't work out, and I think that's probably more down to system based, unfortunately. But listen, once a player's mindset is in that frame of mind, I can understand just taking the hit and moving them on. But I agree with what you've said about Mariah Welsh. I really, really liked him. But when you compare that he's went out the door, and if you look at the three centre midfielders that we've brought in, last season, players like Joe Newell and Josh Campbell were pretty much nailed on to start ahead of Nathan Mariah Welsh. Mm-hmm. Whereas now, I know Joe Newell's injured, but I don't expect him to get anywhere near the starting 11. And Josh Campbell at times is struggling to get in the starting 11 when you've got that midfield three now that we have,
Exactly.
or the 4 players if you include Dylan Levitt as well. So the most important thing is we've got rid of players that either one weren't good enough to be at the club, or two were on a high wage and needed to be moved on. And most importantly, is we've improved that with better quality players. The wages might be a little bit higher, but the quality that we've brought in is better, which for a lot of windows has been an issue.
Yeah, and I feel like in terms of squad strength, you look at it now and we're much stronger now than we were at the start of the window as well. Obviously, Nectar not coming back was a little bit of a kick in the stones, but that was probably always going to be a bit of a long shot when Sunderland got promoted. I look at it, I'm very, very happy, to be honest with you, Shaun. And I think that, and this is going to sound stupid because I obviously wanted us to get league phase, Conference League, but you look at this squad now, and if we add Dykes and a right wing back who can play centre half, if we can add that before the window shuts this evening, this is more than enough for us to really push for third and hopefully scoosh third, because we're not fighting on that European front as well.
Assuming that's behind Aberdeen and Hearts, because Hearts have already won the league. And
Aberdeen, no, yeah. Aye,
we're ahead of Celtic
Aberdeen,
and Rangers in third.
Yeah, because Aberdeen obviously, I mean, they're just so unlucky. They're at the bottom of the league and they've got 0
Somebody needs
points.
to tell them that the league has actually started, because I don't think they're aware the league started.
Yeah. And someone needs to arrest Yengi, because that's crimes against football. He's absolutely fucking minging. Enough about them. But it's the squad, I feel like, is more than strong enough. If we had the European football till Christmas, I think we'd maybe struggle a little bit, because we've got a lot of quality, but we don't have a lot of players, if that makes sense. I feel like we would have needed to add a lot of bulk, which would have cost us a lot of money. And then in turn, if we don't then get Europe next season, then you're tying players down to 2-3 year deals who are not good enough, who are just there to, for extra legs. And that's where you kind of get into that cycle that we have been in the last 3, 4, 5 years, having lots of different managers, players who are nowhere near good enough, who are struggling to move on because they're tied down to long contracts and no one wants to buy them, basically. And you've either got to take the hit and release them and pay them, or keep them on the books and they don't play. So I feel like it's maybe a wee bit of a blessing in disguise in that regard. Obviously, I would have wanted to get to league phase European football. Who I think, if you ask a Hibs fan, everyone would have wanted it. But we can look at it kind of objectively now and say, I think the squad will be in a better place, and I think our league position will reflect that come the time that we would have went out of Europe at Christmas.
Yep, time to start the charge for Europe again, only to get knocked out by August again next year.
No, I don't know, because if we finish second, will we not be in Champions League qualification?
Well, I guess, but we'll be finishing first, won't we?
Yeah, true. So we probably will finish. If we finish first, then we will get some form of league phase, you'd imagine. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Or they'll take that away from us as well.
Oh, I know.
St Mirren at the weekend, Shaun. Did you go?
I was meant to go, but I was had a pager waiting to go off pretty much all day.
Did you watch it on the telly?
Yeah, I did. I watched it.
That's good then. Going into it, it's probably one of the more difficult games out with the Old Firm and Hearts that you could ask for. Coming off 120 minutes the previous Thursday, St Mirren always been a little bit of a bogey team for us the last, half a decade or so. Under Robinson, they're extremely well organised and very, very difficult to beat. The only saving grace for us probably was that it was at home rather than at Love Street. But you look into it, and were you expecting us to go out there and blow them away?
No. Nah, absolutely not. And just because of what I had alluded to earlier on, I expected it to be very tough. And before the game, I would have taken a point.
Mm-hmm.
But, after what transpired, we should have definitely had 3. They done what I expected them to do. they made it difficult for us in spells throughout the game, but we still created enough throughout the match, I felt, to not necessarily put the game to bed, but definitely take the 3 points. And I know we'll come on to what happened at the end of the game. But St Mirren provided exactly the type of performance I expected them to give, and we performed exactly how I expected us to perform off the back of what happened on Thursday. I actually didn't see us winning at all prior to the game yesterday. It was just more in hope that we'd have enough quality because of what you've already alluded to. Like the quality we've got on the park and on the bench is more than enough to be beating these types of sides. No disrespect to St Mirren, because obviously they put in a very, very good performance the previous week against Rangers as well. So, yeah, I'm just happy that we didn't lose more than anything else, considering what had happened on the Thursday. And I wasn't surprised with the changes that we made either. And I was relatively happy with the selection that he went with.
Honestly, I've got to agree as well. I mean, obviously, you've got to change it up. I wasn't expecting Bowie to start. I was glad that Chewa started because obviously when he came on Thursday, he was fantastic. And I feel like he played well again yesterday. Perhaps a little bit leggy towards the end of the match, but in all intents and purposes, a good performance from him. We started the game pretty well though, Shaun, I thought. A couple of good early opportunities. Obviously, Senior Hoylett gets one off the post / bar. I couldn't really tell from where I was sitting what part of the woodwork it came off. But again, it seems like it's the same old story, Shaun, that we're creating chances, but at the moment, we seem to be becoming less and less clinical.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's just the nature of the games that we've had coming up, because if you look at the European games, we've been banging in 2 and 3 goals, but we've been creating a lot more chances. So we have been scoring goals. It's not as if we're coming away from a game and thinking, how the fuck have we not scored? Type thing. You know, we've scored in every game this season, and we've scored multiple goals. So I think it's now that the European games are kind of out the way, which naturally would have affected our league games that we had thus far. I know obviously the Falkirk one was postponed. With the amount of quality that we have on that pitch, I can't see that being an issue going forward. My only concern is, and this is what I thought Leggy had done quite well in both ties, is they nullified Kieran Bowie quite well in both fixtures, and my concern is that league sides then start to switch on as to kind of how to keep him quiet.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at the quality of Legia Warsaw and how they're able to keep him quiet, and the quality that they possess in their back line. I mean, you're looking at the boys just went and signed for Roma for $6.5 million.
Don't know how. And fucking dreadful.
And now, but we're playing up against centre halves who've signed for St Mirren on a free and are worth $100,000. So yeah, they can maybe try and suss us out, but I don't think a lot of the teams in this division will be able to keep Kieran Bowie quiet. If you believe what you hear, Hibs value him at close to, if not £10 million. So we need to be playing on that and making sure that he's firing on all cylinders. And I think now that the international break's coming, he'll probably be involved with the Scotland starting 11s on either the games against Denmark or the other team. Who's the other game that we're playing?
I would be extremely surprised if Kieran Bowie plays absolutely no minutes for Scotland.
I think with the amount of media coverage that he's getting, and people are touting him for this, that, and the next thing, and going, oh, Celtic are wanting to spend X amount of money on him because Adam Ida's gone. If he doesn't get any minutes, then I think it's going to be. I think Steve Clarke might come under a little bit of backlash. I think you look at, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Hibs fan, but I think that Kieran Bowie at the moment, especially in the squad that Steve Clarke has selected, Kieran Bowie is the most dangerous goal threat that we've got in that Scotland team. So I think he's got to play him. And whether that is starting one game, coming off the bench in another, starting both, I'm not too sure. But
I think they're both tough fixtures because you're going away to Denmark and you're going away to Belarus. But I think the type of player that Kieran Bowie is, it would work quite well with him and another up top. My only issue is
Lyndon Dykes.
that Steve Clarke will go with Che Adams and Ryan Christie.
Yeah, and I think, it's obviously not the Scotland ramble, but Steve Clarke he likes to trust the players that he knows what they can give him. And there's nothing wrong with that, but, it's a World Cup here, like you said, and we've got 6 games to qualify for this World Cup. And if he goes with Ryan Christie and Che Adams up front, I think I will gouge my eyes out with a teaspoon.
Yeah, let's hope it's Kieran Bowie and Scott McTominay instead. Ballon d'Or nominee.
Yeah, Ballon d'Or nominee and Scott McTominay.
Yes.
No, I think we're kind of going off on a tangent here, but I think the break has come at a real good time for us in terms of getting freshness back into the legs of the players who, you look at your Josh Mulligans and Chris Cadden especially, Rocky, Boyle. A lot of these guys have played so many minutes over the last 6 weeks, and I think a week off, a week without something intense to look at and work towards, a few days probably relaxation, I think it's going to do them the world of good, to be honest, mate.
I think the only relaxation that Boyle and Rocky are going to get are probably their flight over for the international fixtures.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, like the
rest
players
of them,
that
I completely agree.
Yeah,
like Mulligan and that, yeah, for sure.
But it's going to be tough. Obviously, it's what we would have had to juggle if we'd have got through. But you don't know how it's going to affect the players. And we have played a lot of football. We've relied on the same people for the majority of the games in the league and in Europe as well.
Yeah.
But let's look at the second half of Sunday's game, and St Mirren went 1-0 up. Now, I want to get your opinion on this because David Gray seems to think that it was offside. The ball comes in from a free kick on our right-hand side, St Mirren's left. Comes across the face and it kind of bounces off of their defender, what's his name, Miguel Freckleton, and kind of trundles into the net. However, the referee was asked to pause the restart because there was a VAR check for offside. The fella who scored it wasn't offside. Might have been offside. But did he have enough interference in the play for you for the goal to be chopped off? Because I think he blocked Iredale, who was meant to be marking the scorer.
I don't think there's enough of an interference there, or enough of an obvious interference there to cancel out that goal. I think if it happened at the other end, I would be annoyed if it had got chopped off. Obviously, there's 2 Hibs players, the West Stand side, that play them on as well. And if anything, with set pieces nowadays, you kind of need to be a wee bit smarter and see what you can get away with. And obviously, that's what St Mirren have tried to do. It's a well-worked free kick, and they've got quite lucky with how it's kind of ended up in the goal, or trundled its way in, so to speak. So yeah, I don't think there's enough. I can understand David Gray's point with that, because I think there was 2 St Mirren boys that were actually in an offside position, but like you said, the boy that scored was played on, and I think there's more than enough time and bodies in there to prevent that from going in. So I don't think there's enough of an interference. I
agree, and I think that Gray said that in his post-match as well. I think for David Gray, it's the consistency side of things, because you look at the goal that we scored against Midtjylland at home when Kieran Bowie scored in the first half, and it was ruled out for Martin Boyle being involved in play when he didn't go for the ball or touch the ball. So I think then it's down to consistency, and maybe someone from the SFA, Willie Collum or whoever it needs to come out and say there must be a black and white of what is interfering with play and what isn't interfering with play. For what it's worth, I don't think that it should have been called off, because there's no guarantees that Jack Iredale, if Ayunga hadn't have blocked him, which is completely legal, that he would have got there and stopped the goal happening anyway. So for me, I don't think that it needed to be chopped off. You're kind of walking a bit of a dangerous line if you're chopping goals like that off every single week. And I know that in other fixtures, goals like that do get chopped off. And again, it just comes back down to the consistency of the referees and the officials, and you might see them as not good enough. I don't think a lot of them are good enough to be refereeing at this level, but that's a conversation probably for another day. Our response to that was okay, because I feel like we started the second half pretty well as well, Shaun, until they scored. And then obviously we get a corner whipped in by Jamie McGrath. I think it was Jamie McGrath was on at that point.
Yeah, because we made the 3 changes.
That's right, yeah.
As soon as they scored. Yeah, pretty much straight after.
So Jamie McGrath whips the ball in. It's flicked on by Thibaut Cleege, takes a wee nick off Shamal George in goal, and Rocky Bushiri kind of hits it in with his hip. So at first glance, I turned to my dad and I went, I think he's offside there. I don't think that this is going to count because of the flick on from Thibaut Cleege. Did you think the same?
I didn't think he was offside. Whether it was from his hip or his 18-incher or whatever, Rocky managed to get on the end of it. Cleege must be slightly frustrated that Rocky was there to tap it in, because it was going in anyway.
I don't know, I've looked at it a few times. I think it maybe was going to hit the post.
But Rocky is obviously on a rich vein of form when it comes to bagging goals from corners. Was it 4 goals in the last 8 games and 7 or 8 goals since November? So he's obviously a real threat, and it's good that we're utilising players of that ability now from set pieces, because we do have a very tall side now when you think of him, Hanley, O'Hora, Bowie, players like that as well, and that can get themselves in and around that penalty area.
Yeah, I mean, and he's, like you say, he has got a knack of coming up with goals from corners, but it's big moments and big goals for us. And I ken that one was only just a tap in, but he's starting to become a little bit of a clutch player for us, isn't he?
Yeah, I know. And it's good because of obviously the trajectory of his Hibs career. I couldn't have wished it for a better guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And just before we move on, I mean, the knock on from Cleege, I look at Thibaut Cleege and he's 4 foot nothing. But Shaun, his jumping reach is incredible. For someone who's so small, he's such a threat in the air.
Yeah, and it's good that he then can get stereotyped as just a small, fast, pacey striker that can't pose any threat in the box and isn't kind of physical enough. You've seen it against Livingston. He was chucking himself about. He got cleaned out a couple of times by your best pal, Ryan McGivern.
No, he's not my pal.
That didn't faze him.
Ryan McGivern doesn't play for Livingston.
Ryan McGivern?
Yeah. Ryan McGivern used to play for Hibs. I didn't like him either.
And you saw at the weekend there that there was a couple of crunching tackles that he put in and chucked himself about as well. So it's good that he doesn't shy away from that side of the game. And you're right, he does have this ability, whether it be at the front post or just being able to get a wee bit of a leap on it. And I think that catches some defenders by surprise, which is good. It's something good for him to have in his locker, and similar to Rocky, hopefully we can use it to our own advantage.
Absolutely. And I feel like he had a good game again, putting himself about, like you said, and he did have a couple of opportunities, and we as a team had another couple of opportunities before the end of the game, and again it was kind of showing that the clinical nature just isn't there that much at the moment, and I think that probably could be down to fatigue and tired legs and this, that and the next thing. So hopefully after the break we come back and we're firing on all cylinders and we're able to score these opportunities that we're having, because if we had put away 2 of the opportunities that we had, it's an easy 3 points for us, because I feel like for the most part we dominated the game. Yes, St Mirren are very good at being able to nullify us from doing what we do best, but there were still chances and there were still real good opportunities for us to make breakthroughs, and we just didn't manage to do it. But Shaun, the main talking point was right at the very, very end. I've got a video of it here, and we'll just have a wee look at it before we chat about it.
I want to watch it again.
So,
mate, he's caught the ball.
The frustrating thing for me is, this is the thing, right? His hands are up at the side of his face before Thibaut Cleege even kicks the ball. This is not a natural position for when you're standing trying to defend a goal. Now, I think it maybe does hit off his body before hitting his hand. And I'm not too sure what the rule is in terms of that, but he has basically caught the ball. It's a joke. And I tweeted this yesterday. I says I don't want to be that guy, but what the actual fuck? That is as clear a penalty as you'll ever see. And the fact of the matter is, we got given something that was we never got given. Legia Warsaw got given a penalty for something that was kind of similar 2 weeks ago at Easter Road in the same fucking box.
Yeah, I know. I don't really know where to begin with it. I don't think it's the referee's fault. I'll say that much. I just don't think he's helped by those in the VAR room. I don't know if it was Kevin Clancy or I don't know if it was the Jambo from Musselburgh that was in the VAR room or whatever, but whoever was in that VAR room I don't think has helped the referee out because he obviously only gets one take at it. Now, I just fully expected them to send him to the monitor. If you're stopping the game for that long of a period of time...
After the final whistle as well.
Yeah, because you can tell he was going to blow for the full-time whistle, but then this check was getting completed first. I don't understand why the check takes so long for the referee to then not being given the opportunity to then go and have a look at it. It's a clear and obvious error that he's missed the fact that it's hit the player's hand. It's maybe a bit different if he's gave the penalty and then VAR are checking it and then they're like, by the way, that's not touched his hand at all. So then they can just override it then and there and he doesn't need to go to the monitor to have a look. But he's missed that. So to then not give the referee the opportunity to go over and have a look at it on the monitor himself and come to the conclusion as to what's happened from a different angle is beyond me. The fact that Big Baldy Bobby Madden is lost for words, ex-pros are lost for words, Stephen Robinson's apologising to David Gray for how the game ended. Like, it just...
Did he really? I've not seen any of that.
It's not a good look for the referees and VAR as a whole, unfortunately. There's no other way to sugarcoat it. They've got it wrong. He's caught the ball, he's changed the trajectory of the ball via his arms and hands, and it was potentially going in as well.
I think it was going in, you know. Honest, I genuinely do think it was going in.
Yeah. Disgrace.
It's so frustrating. It's really, really, really frustrating. And I don't understand why at least he's not been sent to the monitor. Because, like you say, it's clear and obvious that he's missed that. Or else he probably would have waved it on or blew for a foul then and there. Which I don't think he did. Well, he definitely didn't blow for a foul, but I don't think he waved it on because I don't think he saw it.
Correct.
And if he didn't, or if he did see it, he didn't see anything wrong with it. He didn't see the player's hands up at the side of his head. Yeah, it's disappointing that they've not even sent him to the monitor because if they send him to the monitor, he goes and he says, "No, that's not a penalty," then fair enough. Because they've told him to check and he's checked. It's not a penalty. But the fact that it's as if, Ken, what it strikes me as, the boys in the VAR room have went, oh, fuck's sake, it's full time. Let's just go home. It's basically like that, isn't it? Like it's... I'm looking forward to hearing what Willie Collum's got to say about it in the VAR review. And I know that's not going to make a difference. It's not going to get us the penalty or the points. We probably would have missed the penalty anyway. But it's the consistency. Because if I see that happening, like if I usually watch the VAR review, right? And not just for the Hibs decisions, but for all the decisions, just to see what is happening, because there's a lot of bad decisions that happen throughout this league. And some of them are beyond belief. And you don't hear about it because it's not Hibs and it's not Celtic and Rangers. And it's just...
I don't normally watch the VAR.
Some of the explanations...
But I will 100% be watching this one.
But and the other thing is that Willie Collum stands there and he goes, yeah, that's wrong. Yeah, that's wrong. Yeah, they shouldn't have done that. Yeah, that's wrong. So I wanted... How many times can VAR and referees get it wrong before something's got to change? Or I mean, I don't know what I would change. I'm not Willie Collum, so I don't know what would happen or what you could do or what you would want to do. But something's got to change because the consistency is all over the fucking joint. It's a conspiracy, Shaun. It's a conspiracy. Not happy. Will we do listener questions?
Yeah.
Now it's time to enter the Hibs Ramble listener questions.
Okay, listener questions. First, as always, John McIntosh. What's for dinner? What's your deadline day dinner, Shaun?
I think I'm having crispy coated chicken with potato wedges and coleslaw.
Live news coming out of the Corrigan household. Crispy coated chicken and coleslaw.
With wedges.
With wedges as well.
Don't forget the Cajun wedges.
Absolutely fantastic news coming out of the Corrigan household. I don't know what I'm having for my dinner, but I'm having macaroni pies for my lunch.
Lovely.
After we finished here. Keith Robertson says, beaten in a rush to get back along the M8 to check that handball. Probably a fair result. What's John Beaton got to do with it?
I don't think he was on VAR.
No, it was Ryan Lee and Kevin Clancy that was VAR, wasn't it?
I think so. He wasn't our referee either.
Yeah, it was Matthew McDermott that was our referee. But he says, beaten in a rush to get back along the M8 to check the handball. Probably a fair result. Unfortunately, St Mirren are now at a place where they do well to keep the number of goals conceded down. Hopefully the break will be much needed and the team come through stronger. I think that's a real good point about St Mirren. And something that we maybe touched on a little bit earlier on, Shaun, is how well coached and well drilled that Stephen Robinson's teams usually are.
Yeah.
They've been a real pain in my arse for a few years now, and it's a team that we struggle to break down. And it's not because they've got a team of hammer throwers, because they do have quite a lot of real good quality players in there as well. You know, you look at the likes of Killian Phillips. I know he came off injured yesterday, but a good player. Declan John, I think, is a good player. Man-drawn, although he's a bit of a wall puncher. Good striker. Gav Dick says, should have been a pen at the end. Draw was probably a fair result. We need to start winning these games if we want to compete for third. Simple as.
Correct. But again, I think if we don't have European games before this fixture, I think we do beat St Mirren. I know,
and I don't think a draw was a fair result. I think we did more than enough to be able to win that game.
Well, we've only beaten them once in our last 6 outings, so it's not a good omen. But I think quality of the squad that we have now, I would be thinking that later on in the season, when they come to Easter Road, we beat them.
Paul Mackay says, handball rules. They really need to get their heads together and make up their effing minds. I know it's not a question, more of a statement. I mean, yeah, this is real. It's a lot of people, like, you hear it, the handball rules, subjective. Of rules, that's not good enough for me. It's not. It should be black and white. And if it's not black and white, we need an explanation on a case-by-case basis. It's as simple as that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Colin McLennan says, too many misplaced passes today, players showing a bit of fatigue. However, a point is better than a defeat. Do we need more bodies in? And if so, what positions? Yeah, a point is better than a defeat. I mean, I feel like there was a period, 10-minute, 15-minute period in that second half, maybe between like 70 and 80 minutes, that it looked like they were going to push on and maybe get a winner. But we did well to weather it and try and get up the park ourselves. Yeah, I think, you know, a couple of tired legs out there towards the end of the game, like Colin says there. And yeah, I think we do need a couple of bodies in, and we have already mentioned that, so I'm not going over it again. Dean asks, are you happy with Ellie potentially moving on to Legia, or would you have wanted him to stick around? I'll let you answer that one, Shaun.
Just similar to what I alluded to earlier on, like I don't... When you strip players back to their technical ability and what they can offer the side, regardless of whether consistent they are or not at doing it, is one of those players that you want to have around your starting 11 and in your squad for as long as possible because of the potential threat that he can pose to opposition. And he is a player that excites people, but unfortunately for a very, very long period of time now, you could probably argue for long, he's been more inconsistent than he's been consistent during his Hibs career. and he's had
I think
more
that's
bad
fair.
games or ineffective games than he has effective games. So when you weigh it up, I don't necessarily have too much of an issue with him leaving. I wish him all the best if he does leave. But in the same breath, if he stays, I'll definitely be rambling on about how good he is and how he should be playing and how good an impact he can have, because we have seen it.
And just to wrap us up, Kevin Feary asks, should Kevin Clancy be prevented from officiating at any more games involving Hibs?
Sticky water when we start getting into that territory, I think.
Fuck Kevin Clancy. That's what I say.
Or that.
It seems like a good place to wrap up. Shaun, thanks so much for joining me this afternoon.
You're very, very welcome.
I appreciate it, taking time out of your very busy schedule, doing nothing.
Absolutely nothing today.
So yes, if you got this far, thank you very much for listening. If you don't already, get us on our socials. We are at the Hibs Ramble on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, etc., etc. We will probably take a break next week since it's international week. We'll keep obviously a close eye on the Scotland game, Scotland results, but we'll speak to you after the next Hibs game, Shaun, which is of course Dundee United at home. Perfect. Look at me doing my research and getting it right. We'll speak to you after then.
Imagine you actually got it wrong and I've just gaslighted you.
That would be quite funny as well.
It's a late kickoff.
Is that a Saturday or Sunday?
The 13th of September. So that's a Saturday. So it'll be a Saturday night kickoff.
Saturday football's back, baby. But yes,
That means
take
big
care.
for you.
Enjoy your week off. Enjoy the Scotland games, and we'll catch you after the Dundee United game. Bye.
Let's get ready to rumble.